Welcome to Contractor Cuts, where we cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of growing a successful contracting company.
Welcome to Contractor Cuts. My name is Clark Turner.
I'm Jared Flo.
Thank you for joining us again this week. So this week we're covering employee pay structure, how you pay your employees. Even if you don't have employees, this is super important because we're talking about how we're going to structure it for our first employee and going up, growing our employees. How do I make them work really hard for the company and pay them the exact value that they're worth? So we're diving into that today. Before we get into that, wanted to make one tiny announcement. We're officially announcing ProServe360.com. ProServe360 is the name of our new software. So we've got a software, the ProServe Alliance software, that's part of our package that if you're an alliance, you get that software.
Companies are already running their whole company on that software.
Yeah, we've got all of our people that we coach are on that software and run it as the background, but we have really taken it to the next level with this new software. That
3.0 is coming out.
Yeah, we're a few months away from launching it. It's got some really cool features. We're disconnecting from QuickBooks, so you can have QuickBooks where it'll dump all your information into there, but you don't need it.
Yeah.
You've got our AI email where any incoming or outgoing emails, it sorts them onto the job card that they're with. So you don't have to do any sort of organization anymore. It literally drops them on the job card. So anyone in your organization or yourself, you go into the job, you see any email communication with that client. There's a whole slew of new things coming out. Online payments, paying subs with one click of the button.
All
direct
designed
deposit
to make the job of being a contractor easier, more efficient.
Yep. So it's taking our current software and supercharging it, which is really cool. If you want to get started on software, let us know, reach out. We've got a really killer one currently right now. But this next one's going to take it to the next level in terms of usability, efficiencies, and making you more money as a contractor.
Super excited about that.
So if you want to hear more about that, or you just want to hear more of our content, make sure you like this, subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on a podcast, give us a 5-star. Anyone that hosts our podcast, like Apple or Spotify, you can go to the top and give us a review. That's super helpful for us. But yeah, any sort of feedback like that really helps us
we also love to hear your comments, anything you got to say, questions.
For sure.
Hit us up on all of those forums.
Love those conversations when people email us to kind of talk back and forth. So anyways, that's our little commercial. Thank you for listening this week. This week, we're diving into how we compensate employees. So Jared, get us going on this. How do we group our employees to where we decide, because we have a few different pay structures depending on the type of employee. Give us the groupings of how we view those employees.
So the biggest piece of this is you have producers in your company, and then you have non-producers, and the figuring out, how do I pay those people? How do I motivate them to grow and develop and hit metrics and all the different stuff, and make it beneficial for us as the company, but also allowing them to be paid well for the efforts and value that they're bringing to the company. And so the first part of that is defining what is a producer and a non-producer. So a producer is really going to be anybody that I can directly tie their efforts to a metric within the company. So revenue increase, profit percentages, a myriad of different things that by nature of them doing their job, they're increasing the revenue of the company. They are hitting a standard of a profit. And so I can measure that month over month, quarter over quarter, annually. I can measure those things to see, are they doing well or are they not? A non-producer is the opposite of that. It is somebody that their efforts in the company are more of a support role. And most of the time you look at them as, by them doing their job, they're allowing the producers in the company to be more efficient. But it's almost impossible to find how do I measure that? Are they making my project managers 5% more productive, 10% more productive? Is the profit better by what they're doing? Are we bringing on more clients? It's impossible for those people. So understanding the difference between those two is really important to be able to set up two different types of pay structures that will keep those different types of employees motivated to continue growing and developing and benefiting the business.
Yeah. So our project managers, it's so easy to, I mean, we can run the numbers and find the exact dollar value that they provided to the company.
Yeah.
Because we've got all the metrics of what they did, their expenses, their profitability per job, but also break down their boss, their office manager, and kind of see our overhead, and we divide that by all the employees. And so we have a really good metric to say, you brought us X amount of dollars and we're going to give you some of that, right? And so we've built a structure around those project managers of, if you do these three things, this is how you get more money, and we run your money, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah. Then
you've got the other side where, for a project manager, I'm like, hey, like, if I can get them to make more money, we're winning, right?
That's right.
Like, because through the metrics that we've got, I can see if he makes, if I can get him a $20,000 raise, that means I, as a company, is making $50,000, $60,000 more. So that's a win-win for us. On the other side, what you were talking about, which we'll cover second, is the office managers, the accountant, the person that's coming in and answering phones as a secretary. All of those are vital roles, but you can't tie it directly to that dollar, right? So my office manager that's making things more efficient, maybe everyone's efficiency went up 5% from last year because they've got things organized. How do I measure that? How do I know it's 5%? How do I know, okay, well, we did an extra $500,000 of revenue this year because our office manager had everything locked in so tight. So we're going to discuss that and how to look at that. But let's get started with project managers, producers, and kind of an understanding of how we align our goals with those guys and girls in our organization that are producing to where we can become their cheerleaders.
Right. Well, and one of the things that we found, and I think anybody that's listening to this knows and understands the pain of having to hire and how difficult it is, and the process of finding somebody that's good. And once you find somebody that is really good, you don't want turnover of that person. And there's a lot of different aspects that would cause turnover. One of the main ones is money. How much money do they make enough money, and do they have opportunity to grow and make more money? And so that's the, we found that what we want to create within our company is a performance-based pay across the scale. Whether you're a producer or a non-producer, we want to find a way to create performance-based pay that everybody in the company sees a trajectory and opportunity to make more money. Right. So that's kind of the basis, the foundation of this. The two different sides we're going to talk about is we're trying to create performance-based pay across the board, that we've created metrics that are measurable so that we can look at those and assess a person and be able to give them more money.
And if you zoom out from this conversation and what we're talking about, this goes on theme to every freaking podcast we do. Every single one is, if you were to boil us down, if you were to do an SNL skit about this podcast, it would be boiled down to, you got to be proactive, not reactive. And what I mean by that is, we don't have a spot, because of these systems put in place, to where an employee comes to you and says, hey, can we have a meeting? I'd like to talk about getting paid more.
Right.
Because our response is, we just had that 3 months ago. And if you're performing and if you're bringing in more money, then you will get paid more.
Right.
Let's look at those metrics. Let's look at that and why you believe that even though you're not making us more money, that you deserve more money. Let's look at that. And so we don't really have those conversations, right? Now that every employee knows exactly how to get paid within the organization, you've proactively put in place, this is how you can make more money, and it's on you to make it. And let me cheer for you.
Well, and we also have a structure inside of our company that every employee knows. Every 6 months, we're going to sit down and have a review conversation. There's a 6-month review and an annual review. And so when they're at 3 months in between the 6 month, they know, well, I don't need to go ask it. In a couple more months, I'm going to have a conversation with them. So all I need to do is churn it up and perform and rock and roll what I know I need to be doing. And then I know I'm going to make that money. So when it comes to our producers, there's a ton of different things when you've got a producer that you can just tie them being able to make more money, whether it's solely on revenue. That, when you're talking a project manager, they're directly responsible for your gross profit, right? Because they're in charge of materials, they're in charge of labor, they're in charge of the timeline on the job and how long it goes. So they're directly responsible for the profit that's being made on a job. So you can tie that to just profit if you want. For us, there are 3 metrics that in our spreadsheet that we've got, our employee compensation package. There are 3 metrics. Talk about those 3 metrics real quick.
So we have really two worksheets that we give you as a ProServe Alliance partner. One is when it comes to pay and assessing. One of the worksheets is what you just mentioned, our employee compensation worksheet. And what that worksheet does is it is a bunch of formulas and math to get you to a specific answer where you put in how much revenue they've made month over month over the last 6 months. What's their monthly average actually over the last 12 months?
Correct. Yeah.
Every 6 months, we look at the past 12 months.
Yeah.
That way we get a full year scope because we know winter we slow down, summer we're slammed. And so we need
evens it out,
months.
Makes it fair.
Yeah. And it also, I have one bad month in 6 months. That's a big chunk of my time.
Right.
If I have one bad month in 12 months, I can make up for it and it's not harming me.
That's right.
So number one, straight, easy, how much money, revenue did you do per month over the last 12 months?
Right.
What's our average?
And and on that, we have a minimum that if you don't hit the minimum, none of the bonuses, raises, and none of that factors in. If you're not hitting the minimum, it's not going to work for you.
And usually the minimum is going to be close to their current pay.
Correct.
Right. So if someone's getting paid 80, they need to at least be doing 80 a month minimum, or we're having a different conversation.
Right.
That's another conversation there.
Yeah.
But so that's the first thing. The second thing is profitability.
Yeah.
How profitable are you? And this is cost of goods profit, right? So this is profit on, I send an invoice for $1,000. I paid my labor $500 and I spent $200 on materials. I made $300, 30% profit on that job.
Which is straight job site cost before overhead, before your payroll, before your office, before your vehicles, before any of that stuff. It's just your cost on site.
And now everyone does this their own way. And for us, we're explaining how we do it. We don't count their salary as part of our cost of goods. We got to pay them whether that we land that job or not.
That's right.
And so we're judging them on the profitability on how they managed their job specifically.
Yeah.
Did I have go back work that I had to pay crews extra for because I forgot something? Did I buy the wrong paint and so it cost me $400 extra because I bought the emerald, right? So the metrics are judging not our mismanagement or good management of the company, but more how did they manage their job,
right?
And so that's the profit as well as the amount, the revenue. So we look at the profit percentage, the revenue, and then what we call their PAL score, which PAL was jokingly named and stuck, but it's Project Manager Action List Meeting.
Yeah.
So it's more PALM.
Yeah.
Anyways, the PAL score is generated through a list of objectives that they have to do weekly before they meet with their boss, our head of construction. So I'm not going to go deep into the PAL, PAL grades.
Really, the PAL, to boil it down, it boils down to customer service.
Yes.
Right. We could choose to exchange that with, customer service reviews.
Yeah.
Right. What's your review percentage that your customers are giving you? You could do it that way, but we chose to create our own in-house PAL grade that's judging you on a bunch of different stuff, but all of that stuff translates to customer service.
Well, and customer service and those things, the 10, 11, 12 things that we judge in a PAL meeting, all of that is the flag for us if that project manager is starting to slip or get underwater, right?
Yeah.
The first thing to go is not getting a crew to the job. It's making that extra email to the client.
Yeah.
The first thing that when a project manager is starting to fail or get underwater is not making sure that estimate gets there because that's how they make money, right? It's more, oh, well, I didn't end up doing, I didn't send any invoices this week because I was trying to get these things done. Well, that's great, but we can't pay your salary if we don't have money coming in with your invoice.
Well, and the alliance partners that I coach, they really love the PALs once they dial it in and get it working, because one of the big things that it allows them to do, obviously grading them and making sure that they're doing well, but how do you know how much a project manager can handle doing on a monthly basis? How do you calibrate? I'm going to give them 80,000, 100,000, 150,000, 200,000 worth of work in a month. How do you know if they've got what the teetering point is? And that PAL grade is a great way to see they're at 95% all the time. And I went from 100 to 125 and they dropped down to an 80. Okay.
Yeah.
It's too much for them. And it helps them dial in knowing how much each project manager can handle.
Yeah.
So
The
it's a
PAL,
really valuable product for sure.
and if you're doing the PAL wrong, it feels like you're in the principal's office.
Yeah.
If you're doing the PAL right, you're in a coaching session. You're in, hey, we're on a team. This is not to grade you and give your paper back and find a F on it so you don't get a pay raise here.
Right.
It's more of, okay, you've hit 98% every single week. The last 2 weeks you've been at 72. What's happening right now? And then that's where it starts. A lot of stuff comes out of like, honestly, things are falling apart at home, and so okay, cool. Let's slow you down. I'm going to cut the jobs back that you're doing, but I need you to do those jobs at 100%.
Yeah.
Let's give you the space you need for personal reasons. Let's get you some training. If you don't know how to do that, let's find you some new crews. But this conversation and looking at the PAL grade is how we can throttle up or throttle down the work that we're passing that project manager without it being like, everyone's supposed to be doing $150,000 a month in revenue and you're not doing it right. And it's not everyone's different. And so it allows us to be able to individualize each person in their performance, but also have we commit in our client engagement agreement to send 2 emails a week. Did you send 2 emails a week? Because that's what we've committed. Did you upload photos? Because we need to send those with the invoice. Did you? It's a list of just minor things that our PMs have. They can sit down before the meeting, the day before, and go through the whole thing and provide everything that they need to do on the job. So it's kind of a check-in also and accountability to make sure that we're doing what we commit to.
So, and that's the way that we have chosen to do that. And that's through a lot of trial and error for sure. And the reality is that there's tons of ways of creating your own performance-based metrics that you allow your people to be able to make more money or whatever. For us, what we love about this system is that it provides the opportunity for everybody that's working as a producer to be able to make more money. The harder they work, the more they're able to do, the more money they're going to be able to do, and it grows and scales with them. But on the company side of things, what you know by this system is that you're never going to be upside down on your pay. You're never going to be paying in front of because this guy is owed making more money or doing this, or you're also not having to come up with, all right, it's the end of first quarter. I got to come up with 60 grand worth of, commission checks, whatever. It tiers and grows with them. You're never going to be upside down on your pay for your employees, but gives your employees that opportunity and they can see the line. If I do this, I can continue to grow.
Most jobs in performance-based jobs, right? Most people in those job roles, whether it's construction or anywhere, there is a spectrum that people get paid on, right? It's either full salary on the left side, on the right side, it's full commission. You don't get a salary. And so every company that I know of that does performance-based pay
tries to find a balance.
Finds a balance. I'm going to do a small salary, but a large commission. I'm going to do a large salary and a little bit of commission. And for us, what we don't like about that is it's the instability it gives our employees to where it's hard to go get a loan for a mortgage if you're on a commission base where your money's going up and down all the time.
Right.
B, how do I budget for my life and my kids and my family if this month I made 10 grand, but next month I made $1,000? And so how do I know what I can do and what I cannot? So we don't love that way of doing it, but we do like in the commission structure, I get paid for the work I'm doing. And so that's what we've solved with our compensation worksheet is saying, here's a way that we increase your base salary every 6 months. You're up for a raise every 6 months on your base salary and you're not losing that. You're getting that forever.
Right.
But we're going to incrementally do it and make sure that we're not getting taken advantage of, but you're going to get paid for the work you're doing.
That's right.
And so if at any point they should be moving backwards on that scale, we aren't over leveraged to where we can just keep paying them where they're at. And if we can't get them in the next 6 months back to at least where they were at originally, there's probably performance issues that they're not going to be working here on about.
All of it creates flags. That you can, wait, time out, something's going wrong.
So we give that to all of our alliance partners and work them through it, and everyone kind of builds their own. That's the beauty of what we've got is we've got a skeleton that works really well.
When it comes to the PAL, what's important to you and your company and your clients?
Take ours and run with it or edit it to things that you like. And everyone ends up doing that when they come in of, I really care about this. Great. Put that on your PAL list of what you want them to do. So that's what we give to our alliance members to use to really measure the performance of the people that are bringing in money.
Right.
That's easy, honestly. Once you have that formula together, it's cut and dry. And the cool part about that is I can sit down. Here's the difference. To sum it up.
Yeah.
The old way that we used to do it, in a way almost every construction company I know does it, is you're my project manager, you hit your numbers, and now we're sitting down to have an arm wrestling match to see how much money you can pull out of me by threatening other jobs and by threatening leaving, and how little I can pay you by dissing the work that you've done and be like, well, you did, and you did this. I don't.
Or yesterday, you and I got in an argument about something on site, and now I know he's pissed at me. I got my review tomorrow. He's not going to give me any.
How many stories or how many times has it happened to you where you walk in thinking, I've been here for a year, I'm having a review, I'm sitting down, I think I might get 10 grand extra but I'm performing well. And you sit down in that meeting.
$500.
Yeah. Like, well, we've had a rough time and this, and we're not going to be able to give you a raise. Here's a $500 bonus. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like, why have I worked my butt off over the last 12 months for this company?
Yeah.
Right. And so we are getting rid of that with our system that we've built. And instead, it's now the meeting with my project manager is saying, hey, man, let's look at your numbers. This is what you've done. This is awesome. You're killing it. You really were kind of missing the mark here, but look at these numbers. You've earned a $2,200 raise, which I know isn't where we want to be, but let's look at these 7 jobs that you have that are going to close in the next 3 months and get completed. Yeah. You're going to have a killer next 6 months.
You become the cheerleader.
Yeah. And I can also run down on this worksheet and say, if these numbers continue in 6 months, you're going to get an $8,200 raise. You're going to get a $12,000 raise. And I can project that out with what you think you're going to do.
Right.
And now it's like, all right, Jared, you want to get that raise? All right. You give me permission to ride you until you get some of these things straight. Great. Let's do it.
Well, and it also makes it that if you're having to have a more difficult conversation where you're not getting a raise, it's not subjective.
Yeah.
It is, here are the numbers. We talked about this. You didn't hit this one. You didn't hit this one. Let's figure how can I get you, this is what you need to do in the next 6 months. Because if we can do that, I can get you to, so you become a cheerleader, but you're not the bad guy. Yeah. The metrics, the numbers are the thing. They know it, you know it, it's clear. You can review them at any given moment, so you're not the bad guy.
Right.
So well, moving on to a little bit more of a difficult topic. Yeah. How to motivate and compensate non-producers.
And what one person in the middle that we're not really going to cover today is a manager, right? Your project manager, your general manager. We've got a number of pay structures for them, but again, they're kind of more closer to the producers than the non, because they're in charge of hiring the right project manager, managing those guys, getting the most out of them. So they're still producing, just they're getting paid off of everybody in the company and and what those guys all do underneath them versus other matrices. Right. So we kind of love that level.
But their efforts increase revenue, increase profit, increase efficiency. Their specific efforts can be tied to any of those.
Yeah, they made more money. The 7 project managers they're in charge of increased by $1 million a year in profit. You're getting a piece of that.
That's right.
Right. And so you can easily measure that.
Kind of a middle of the road, but there's definitely some metrics that you can tie them
That's
to.
right. And so the third level, like we're talking about, the non-producers, that's your office manager, that's your secretary, that's your accountant, that's anyone that isn't responsible for invoicing, right? Anyone that is not going to be producing product for your company. Right. That they are part of the system, the engine, but they aren't the actual results at the end of it, where you can measure directly what they've done. This is the hard part. And this is one that has to be really thought through, and it takes a lot of conversation and trust and other things. So let's dive into that, Jared. So what are the key things you're looking for when I'm putting together a compensation package for a non-performer?
Right. Well, and with a non-performer, the reality about them is that, like you said, it's very, very difficult to measure the value. Yeah. But if you have a good person in that position, they are extremely valuable. Let's just say an office manager who's answering the phone, they're your first line of customer service. Yep. They're your first contact of whether a client is like, oh, I really like them. I like that that person had a nice voice, they were kind, they were helpful. They're the person that maybe your crews call when they have a pay problem,
Yeah.
and they're keeping your crews happy and all that stuff. They can take on some of the task list that's associated with a project.
Permit offices.
Offices, getting in touch with engineers, trying to get drawings back, whatever it is. So by nature of their job, they're helping make the clients happier. They have the opportunity of making your producers more efficient. But being able to tie that to a metrics is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And so what you're looking for is, what are some real things that I can tie to that position that I can make as a metrics, right? Can I tie it to the overall growth of the company?
Yeah.
I know by nature of their position, they're creating efficiency, they're creating the opportunity for more growth. So can I tie it to that? Can I tie it to their personal skill level growth? They came in with X amount of skills, but I need for them to learn how to do QuickBooks, or I need for them to learn how to do this. And if they can do that, I don't have to pay this other person anymore to do that, because now this person could do it for me.
Yep.
And so the goal in this place is to be able to create a level of target metrics that I can review and say, did you do these or did you not do these?
Yep.
Right. And I love the thing that you said earlier is the goal of how you know if you've set this up well for a non-producer. It says, if I'm the boss, this is the litmus test. If I'm the boss, I'm rooting to be able to get this person more money.
Yeah.
Because the more money that I'm able to get them, it's associated with certain metrics in the company. And if we're hitting those metrics, we're benefiting.
Yeah.
We're all making more money. The company's making more money. And so I want to try and get them more money and help them get to that new spot, help them gain those new skills, because it's going to benefit across the board. If it's the other way around and I find myself trying to fight against, how can I not pay this person any more money? How can I get more out of them? And you're constantly going that direction. You've not set something up that's going to be beneficial for them. And the reality is you're probably going to end up with turnover.
Yep.
Right.
Well, and any employee, but especially in these non-producer roles that we have, the most important thing day one, and we've said this 100 times, and I'm going to tell you why we say it 100 times, is the job description, your list of responsibilities, and what they're going to be held accountable to. Because if that's written out,
detailed and specific,
that is what what we can judge off. So here's a great example of building a metrics for an office manager versus doing it the wrong way. The wrong way is saying, all right, if you keep our books and keep them pretty clean and up to date, then you're going to get, that's part of your raise.
Right.
Well, what does that mean?
And
what
also,
does that mean?
Also, anything that the office needs, I need you to handle it.
Yes. That is not a job description.
That is a bucket that you can throw anything in.
The metric that I'd like to see is, I want to have less than 3 missed payments on credit cards and bank accounts within 6 months at a time.
Yeah.
I know it's going to happen. I know you're going to miss. You got all the bills you're paying. You got everything else you're doing. I need to be 3 or less $40 charges, whatever it is. A measurable that I can say, okay, they did that. Oh, well, they cost us a lot of money because they didn't do that, right?
Yeah.
Measurable.
I need organization around our filing system so we can have quick access when we have an audit.
Yeah.
When we need to get into, maybe there's a insurance issue and I need to get a subcontractor's file quickly. Where is that? There was a lot of times that they were stashed in a banker's box down in the basement somewhere, unalphabetized. It was just this year, I think they were, right? So
pause.
Yeah.
ProServe 360 is going to do that for everybody.
Yeah.
That's
right.
That's going to be handling.
That's
Anyways,
right. Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
keep going.
But that, organizing the office, making sure that supplies are taken care of, the tangible things that are not just a bucket of, it falls into this, or I want QuickBooks to be better.
Yep.
Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Right. So, agreed. I think having specific measurables, one, the baseline, for you to keep your job here, the expectation are these very specific things. This falls under your preview as a office manager, an assistant, whoever you are. These are specifically what's required, and I'm paying you to do these things.
I'll be honest. This is one of the weakest spots that we've had as a company
For sure.
in the past, and even in the recent past. I think the hard part of these is I don't want to give away money I don't have to, and I don't want to pay someone for hitting a random set of tasks that they were supposed to do, even though they had a terrible attitude and didn't do right. And so there is, with these job roles, there has to be some sort of subjectiveness in terms of, I'm happy with you. I really enjoy how you do your job, as opposed to you're doing everything, but you got a horrible attitude and no one likes being around you and you're killing the mood in the office. Those are not measurable. And same with project managers too. But I think one of the things that you have to do is set, okay, at the 12-month mark, these things need to be hit. We're going to review and almost do a corrective action, but a positive one, most likely. But if there's anything that they're not hitting, hey, I know we said you're going to get a $4,000 bump at 12 months. If you hit these things, you're not quite there. And here's the 7 things I wrote down that if you were doing these things, I'd be happy to give you that raise. So can we review in 2 months? And if you hit these 7 things, we're going to give you that raise. So it's a corrective action, but it's not a put in the file because you did something wrong, but more like, hey, I'm happy with where you're at, but to get a higher pay grade at this job, you don't have all of the tools that you need. So let me spell those out for you. And then that type of person that has these tools, I would have paid $4,000 more than I'm paying you to bring them in. Right. And so having those measurables tied to this much money, if we can check these boxes on this date.
That's right.
By doing that, there is not this ambiguity of, I hope I get paid. I hope there's a raise. I need to go in. Maybe I send my resume out and get some offers to show them how much other people are going to pay me. Right. And all that goes away because it's like, this is what you need to do. This is what we've agreed to. And it works fairly smoothly then.
Well, and I think something really important to point out here is anybody who has had somebody in one of these positions has experienced the person in that position feels like they're bringing a value higher than what they're getting paid. And the owner, management, whoever sees that position and says, no, I'm paying you for those things. I don't understand why you would want more money. So one important thing is, if you've gone to get that person for the least possible amount of money that you can pay them, double check that and make sure that that job position in the market hits that dollar amount somewhere. You may be on the low end, you may be in the middle, you may be high, but where is that? And if you can get to a place where, like, you know what, this job position pays $35,000 a year, $45,000 a year, whatever it is, on average across the board, that's where I'm at, and I'm in that target range, then you know that you're paying a fair compensation for the work that you're getting from that person. Right. So that's the very beginning of it. But then an important piece of having an employee is they have to be able to see where they're going. Can they achieve more? Is there upward movement? Is there opportunity for more money? And so that's where, if you have a comfortable place of, I'm comfortable that I'm paying for this position and I'm paying a fair price, which the thing that you always say is, I could go out and hire another person with similar to like skills at the same rate or less than I'm paying you. So that's kind of your spot to be able to find that out. But then it's important for the culture and longevity and loyalty that you want from that position, because we all know turnover in positions like that are a pain to replace. So I want to make sure that they don't come out feeling, well, I'm just stuck making this and I'm gonna make this forever. What are the opportunities that you can put in front of them for them to be able to grow, develop their own personal skills, as well as the opportunity to make some more money? I think having that in front of them allows you to be able to have a healthy conversation of, here's what I pay you, here's what I pay you for. You're achieving all of those things. The extra measure here is how you gain more money.
I think a great example of what you're saying to kind of help people understand it in a different context is
You saying I wasn't clear?
you were clear as mud. No,
Okay, great.
no. A comparison that I like to draw is teachers.
Yeah.
Teachers bring so much value. They teach our children how to read, how to write, how to, there's so much that teachers do that brings so much value. That is what they're paid for. Now, if they get really good at math, they're still teaching my kids and they're still bringing the same value.
Caveat, they're not paid very well.
They're not. And the problem, and this isn't a political thing, but going into it, you get paid by what people are willing to do the job for, right? And so if half the teachers in America quit, all the schools are going to have to start increasing their pay to vie for the best teachers and figure out how to do that, or to attract other teachers in, we got to raise the pay, right? And so just because you feel like you're bringing a bigger value than what you are, look around, and this is to employees, advice, look around as to what brings more value than just doing what you're currently doing better, right? And so instead of being a teacher that's getting better at teaching kids math, that's great. Have you thought about learning how to run PTA meetings and to where you can move up to assistant principal or move to a higher position that you're bringing more value for the organization,
right?
Not necessarily, going back to our type of company, not a teacher, but in construction. I want you to be good at QuickBooks. Well, now you're really good at QuickBooks. Great.
Yeah.
That's not increasing my value. Why am I paying more for the same thing? But hey, going to our employees and saying, hey, if you were doing X, Y, and Z, this would take this off my plate. If you can learn how to manage this budget that I manage monthly, and me and you can just have a once a month meeting and you're handling that whole budget, that allows me to go train more PMs, and there's a bigger value here. So let's work on, in the next 12 months, getting you these 7 tasks off my plate, and which I think this other thing that's going to make everyone more efficient or save us money, or you're going to shop the insurance annually to make sure we're in the cheap. Some things that are going to build value for the company, not necessarily you're working harder, but the company's getting more money, then I can pay you more.
Yep.
But being better at the current job you're doing that I'm already paying you for, isn't necessarily.
I hired you because I thought you were going to be excellent at that job.
Yes, that was the baseline of why I brought you in. We understood that you're good at this, and that's why you're hired. I think that's the conversation that an employee and a boss always clash on. Of like, well, I worked so hard and I did everything you asked me to do. That's I agree, and that's why I'm paying you everything I told you I'd pay you. Right. And so that's the hard conversation, and where you have to be creative as the boss to say, okay, well, this is what is the value. You think it's valuable to be better at QuickBooks. We don't have any issues with QuickBooks. I don't care if you go to and get your master's in QuickBooks. That's not helping us because our QuickBooks is fine right now.
Right.
But if you could do these things, this is valuable for me and our company, and this will allow me to pay you more.
Right.
And so clearly defining that before this meeting, before saying, I don't know, just do more around here.
Right.
It's your job to set those up, but then say, tied to this, check these boxes. We're giving you a $40,000 raise.
Well, these positions will feel missed and undervalued unless you choose to be proactive in making sure that they understand you have value here. This is what I'm going to pay you, but I want you to make more. Here's how you do it.
Yep. One office manager we had, this is a great example of understanding what they need and what they want and how to help them get there. We had an office manager that wanted to get paid more. And we said, this is the issues that you have. I'm not going to go into it, but these are the things that you don't possess right now.
Right.
You need, and she said, well, that's like how to run a business type things that what, you want me to Google it? Like, what do you want me to do to figure it out? And so I was like, what would help you step into eventually being
confident
head of operations for us? Because the next level up from your current pay is a head of operations role where you're managing the office and bigger tasks. And she said, honestly, like, if I could get if I can get a master's in some sort of business admin or something, then I could do that. And so we said, okay, instead of giving you a raise, we're going to pay for your master's. And so we did. We paid to get her a master's in business administration, in lieu of a raise. But she was happy because she was getting something out of it. We were happy because we were starting to form an employee that could hopefully in the future build our company to the next level with us.
But by nature of that conversation and opportunity, she felt seen and valued, and saw opportunity in front of her.
Yeah, and we invested in her company by doing that, and she saw that we invested in her and believed in her too. So win-win on that front. But again, I understand you're working hard. This is what I need though to get us to the next level, make the company more. I'd love to give you more money if I was making more money. I'd love to make more money myself.
Yeah,
that hasn't happened this year, and so I don't know. You want me to take a decrease because you haven't brought anything to the table? Yeah, right. And so I think that's a clear spot of I'm going in. Any meeting I have is these are the achievables to get. I don't care if it's $1,000 raise in 12 months. We got to have achievables tied to additional money.
Right.
That's it. I mean, that's kind of the long and short of it. If you want some of this information, if you want job descriptions, pay compensation levels, and we'll sit down and help you work through it, reach out to us. Go to our website, ProServeAlliance.com, Clark at ProServeAlliance.com, Jared at ProServeAlliance.com. We'd love to chat with you guys about it. And if joining up with us is something that ends up working for you and you feel build value, we'll do it. If not, let's have a conversation. We'll help with some stuff. We love helping contractors. So feel free to reach out to us. We love it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hit the like button. Thank you. All right. Bye.